What is up, my fellow writing addicts? I'm Marissa.
And I'm Haley.
And today we're playing a game called Writer Tag.
So, for those who don't know, any tag, well, usually you get tagged to do it, but because we're losers and we don't have friends, we kind of tagged ourselves. I guess we tagged each other.
Woo!
And basically there's a list of questions, and you just answer the questions, and then you tag other people to do it. We don't have friends, so...
Or we could tag one of our author friends, afterward.
Yeah, I guess so. But this one is going to be specifically a writer tag. So it's questions about, writing and us. You're going to get to know us. So I guess we'll just jump right in.
Yeah.
All right, first question. What type of writing do you do?
What's fun is do we do this separately or together? Because we're co-authors.
Yeah.
But we also do stuff on the side. I know I mainly do fantasy.
Same.
It's kind of my cup of tea.
I like to branch out a bit more. I have a lot of things planned, the different genres, but mostly fantasy.
I know one day I want to do a pure romance.
Ooh.
Mainly because I doubt that I can do it, but I want to try.
She will.
And I have dabbled in science fiction beforehand, but I'm not 100% sure I'll return to it.
I want to try it if I had an idea. That's the hardest part for me, is having the idea.
I feel you on that. I just know there's certain genres I won't do. I'm sorry, Western, I will never write one of you.
No.
I can't.
So she works at a publishing house, Wolfpack. I used to work there. And it's all mostly Westerns. Some men adventures, some thriller, but some Christian fic, but mostly Westerns. That's their bread and butter. And after reading a bunch of those things, I'm good.
I can't. There was a slim chance before. I can't anymore. I'm sorry. I've been traumatized by the genre. Or by the authors that submit.
What's the next question?
Well, we kind of talked about it.
Just do it anyways. Just ask it.
What genres and/or topics do you write about?
Well, there we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? Probably the question really is, we write books for the first question.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes shorts.
We do shorts, but we do sometimes articles as well.
Yeah, if we have to, for money.
Work, yeah. But, we've done a little bit of journalism.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly books.
Yeah, short stories, but yeah. I like longer works.
Ooh, they're both fun and torture.
I know,
then you get in the middle and you're like, when will it end?
I know, right?
Suffering never dies.
But yeah, genre, fantasy, dabbled in sci-fi, wants to do romance, branching out, doing post-apocalyptic stuff, because I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah. I can see you doing that a lot.
Yeah. So, how long have you been writing?
I have been writing since technically my freshman year of high school, but I didn't really dive right into it until junior year when we started talking about the book we're doing now. And then I didn't finish a novel until senior year of high school. I did NaNoWriMo, which was torture. I don't recommend it in a weird way.
Imagine NaNoWriMo, but it's your grade.
You had to. It was insane.
Yeah, she took a creative writing class.
And you had to, the only way to pass the class was to do NaNoWriMo. Some people didn't finish. I don't know how
Poor
they lived.
things.
So I know. One of them was one of our friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I won't say who, but yeah, he didn't finish. And all of us were like, good luck.
Poor thing. I said way earlier. I started
Was it at middle school?
Yeah, middle school. So I started with writing fan fictions, and then I branched out into more my own work. I guess, but technically the first thing I've ever written was in elementary school. The Lost Dessert.
My favorite misspelled word ever.
Yeah, it's supposed to be desert, but me being elementary schooler who didn't know how to write,
It's adorable.
put dessert.
It's so cute.
My teacher was so confused. They're like, but where'd the dessert come in? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, it's called The Lost Dessert. I'm like, I meant to put desert. And like, oh, whoops, sorry.
I mean, technically, I don't count it, but the first, finished work I did was, freshman year of high school, where they made us write a kid's book. I don't count it, because it's that bad. Like, take that into account. I don't really like the book I wrote for NaNoWriMo, but, like, I still call it, like, a book. Not that kid's book. It's horrible.
Now I want to read it.
I don't even think I have it anymore. I think, like, I gave it to, like, whatever teacher I had at the time, and I think she kept it.
Oh.
So I didn't type it out. It was, like, all handwritten, so I can't even give it to you. I don't even remember what it was about either. Are you published?
Well, if you mean by published a book, not
No,
yet.
Not yet.
Well, you kind of published a book with the NaNoWriMo one.
Yeah, it's technically published, but it's not up for sale because I know. But yeah, so technically CreateSpace, it's published under that, and I think it has like whatever copyright that comes along with it. So technically, yes, I published a novel, but it's not up for sale. No one knows about it, and no one in the general public will ever read it.
But I will.
You have read it before.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It was pretty good. It was alright.
But if you're talking about like published hits in general, we've both been published in newspapers.
A newspaper.
A newspaper. A school newspaper also.
Yeah. I've had a blog go up. So if you count that as being published, then yes.
Yeah, so it just really depends on what your definition of published is. Because I know some people don't even like indie published, and they're like, no, must be traditional. It's like, well,
Okay,
sorry.
bye.
Yeah, later.
What was the first story you ever wrote?
Oh.
Well, if you don't
Like
want to count,
completed?
well, if you don't want to count the lost dessert.
I don't. I love it, but let like more adult you. As middle school, if counts as adult.
Well, it was a fan fiction. It's a Sonic fan fiction, and what was? Oh yeah, it was called. Never mind. I'm not even gonna say it because I don't want people to look for it.
I have her whole like thing list saved, and one day I will read all her fan fiction.
Right. I'll believe it when I see it. And honestly, you shouldn't. It sucks.
The first story I ever wrote, like it wasn't finished, but I started like this novel back in like freshman year of high school, and I wrote it like on pen and paper because screw technology. I don't know. But I got like halfway, and then I realized like, shit, I'm not doing the story I wanted. Like it veered off weirdly, so I had to restart, but I never got around to it. But that was like the first time like I actually like started writing like a story.
Okay, yeah. Why do you write? Because it's fun.
How depressing do you want this answer to be?
However depressing you want it to be. This is your question to ask.
That's the answer?
Well, yes. Your question to answer.
Honestly, at the time it was just a lot of fun, but looking back, it was a compulsion because it was a little more like a trauma thing. I did suffer from PTSD. I'm like slowly getting better, or at least it's okay now, I'll put it that way. But at the time, I didn't know that, so the compulsion to write was kind of like a coping mechanism that I didn't realize was going on. There's the adult answer. My kid self would just been like, it's fun, and I kind of can't stop.
Oh, I just like creating things. Like, I like creating a story, whether it's like written or it's film or it's like theater or a game or whatever.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
what it's become now.
Yeah,
Thankfully.
but yeah, I just like creating things. I find it fun. And one day I'd like that to be my career. Career. I wish I could talk.
English, I swear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Are you scared of the next question?
I read the next question.
How do you find time to write?
I don't.
I knew you were going to say that.
I cry.
Honestly, I think that's like the hardest thing, especially because I've graduated from college. She hasn't yet. So trying to like balance school and work and just trying to live, because that's a separate thing, is just so difficult that it's really kind of slowed down the writing process. And it's just like, well, I guess I have 2 or 3 hours in the dead of night. I guess instead of sleeping, I'll just write, because you have to sacrifice something. Friends, sleep, eating, homework, because let's be real, that's another job in itself. I've gone to classes and it's been so boring that I will literally type out a chapter. Actually paying attention. Let's be real.
I do that too.
But when you're an English major and it's like, well, let's look at the thing we're supposed to have read. Oh, look, no one did. I guess I'll talk about it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When and where are the best times to write? Nighttime in my room.
Same. Like, I was doing a short story competition recently, and I found that, like, between, like, 2 and, like, 5 in the morning, peak writing times. It was perfect. No one interrupted me.
Exactly. And I find myself being more creative at night, whether it's because I'm dead tired and tired me as an interesting person, or I don't know. I just find I'm more creative at night, and then less people bother me. And then my bedroom, it's like my space. I need
Yeah.
my space where I can just write without having to look over my shoulder.
I like it because I work on my tablet. It's like the same tablet, but this is Haley's. Versus my work computer, because at my work computer, it's like I gotta be like working, like doing formatting and stuff. But with my tablet, it's like, no, this is just for creating. And I like having the separate space. That outside my room is where I actually work, because I work from home. And inside my room, Haley, knock it off, is where I can actually like sit down and create. I like nighttime because it's just no one bugs me. My phone isn't vibrating because there's no emails, no phone calls, no spam, no family. There's nothing. It's just dead quiet. Favorite food/drinks while writing? I think you could answer this one for me.
Oh, you like, I know you like fruit, like grapes and stuff, and you like lemonade or Coke.
Yeah.
I don't really actually eat or drink while writing. I'm too busy. I'm too focused that by the time I realize there's food, I'm done writing and it's gone cold or whatever.
Oh, no, I have to have something because if I don't have it, I will go seek it out and then I'll get distracted by something shiny. So I will typically bring like grapes or oranges already peeled, and then I'll like bring a soda or something big, and then I'll just like, okay, cool, nothing. There's like no reason to get up now, and then I can actually dive in for 2 hours.
Your writing playlist? Question mark. That's your writing playlist.
Do you have one? Cause
Sometimes I like listening to movie soundtracks
mm,
or like Japanese music from anime because if it has lyrics, I focus way too much on the lyrics. But it can't be anything new, otherwise I focus too much on the music because I'm like, oh, this is new.
I know, like, typically I use instrumental music or I like French music a lot because I like the singers, but I don't know what they're saying, so it's easier to focus.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I get into a mood. Like, if I have to write a fight scene, I'll put on, like, rock music. If it's love scene, I like a romance scene, I like pop music, ironically,
Hmm.
because it's more upbeat and it's
Yeah.
fun. Sometimes romance music comes off too sappy, and I'm like, focus on that. Um, if it's like, if I need to get into a really sad state, I'll put on really depressing music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 4 songs I could just cycle through.
Yeah, if it
And
has
it's like,
English,
perfect, I can cry now.
if it has English lyrics, I focus too much on it.
Yeah, I only use that if like I really need to get like hyped up or like bummed out, like to put myself in a mood.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just in general, like I don't need music to put me in that space, I'll put on French or instrumental. I love violin and like music, like not music, obviously piano.
I tend to just not have music on. It's just that sometimes the silence gets too much, and that's the only time I put music on.
Oh, I can't stand the silence. I get so jittery. What do family, friends, loved ones think of your writing? Or of you writing? That's a different question.
Um, they're like okay, they're they're not like. My mom is more of a. She understands that I write, and she's okay with it. It's like there's no like active hatred or anything. My dad understands a bit more because he's a creative person himself.
That he is.
And then friends, we don't really talk about it except for our writer friends.
Yeah, writer friends, of course, be super
Yeah.
supportive. My family, like my mom is down for it. I think she's more down for me being like an editor because that's like in her mind she can visualize how that's gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
With a writer, it's just these like romantic concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun getting advice from her, and by fun I mean kill me. But like with friends, I don't know. Sometimes it feels weird to be like I'm a writer because I don't know. It just if sometimes talking to them, it feels weird, and they have like too many questions, and I'm just like, oh, I kind of wish you already knew.
Yeah.
So it's easier to go to a person I know who writes and be like, man, and complain about writing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, yes, I so get it.
Yep. What are the parts of writing you enjoy the most?
I think, especially for like us, since it is like you and I, especially for like a long time now, co-writing. I think I love the collaboration process because like
Mm-hmm.
it's so much fun. We'll go and get like a study room somewhere, and they're just like walls, of whiteboards, and we get to just write so much on them and just have this like really big like creation process, and it's so much fun and so much high energy. And it's just kind of nice to not have to like we'll take photos and we'll like type it up later, but I think like kind of going into like the creation process is just so much fun for me.
Yeah, like anything pre-writing, like outlining, world building, character creating, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I think sometimes like there are sometimes I do enjoy writing a scene and it's like yes, perfect, like when it flows, but for the most part it's like, well, I gotta back to the grind if I want it done. So I think like the first bit of writing is so exciting, like the first bit and the end bit, because it's like, oh my god, I'm starting, yay! And at the end, you're crawling for the finish line. I'm almost done.
Well, that leads into the next question.
Oh, parts of writing you find challenging? Yes.
The writing part.
I know the middle is like killer because I'm always like, I'm not even like I get halfway and it's like I'm dying. How am I gonna survive the rest of the book? And you always have the self doubt and the self hatred, like the this is shit. I am shit. I should give up. Or you get the worst. You get like, hey, here's another idea, and it's like, no, I have to focus on the current one. But it's another idea, and it's shiny, and it's pretty, and that's what kills me. Staying on task.
I have nothing else to say. The writing part is my least
Yeah.
favorite part, ironically. What do you write with and on? I type everything out. I use Google Docs because it's just easier. And then when I'm at school and in class, then I'll write in a notebook. But yeah, mostly just Google Docs.
I prefer to write it out by hand. I feel like there's like two types of people: those who will write out by hand and those who have to type, and like both are valid. But I prefer writing it, even though my hand can't write as fast as my mind is creating a scene. So it always is interesting what words get up like getting nixed from the sentence.
The one reason why I'm okay with writing by hand sometimes is that it's when you type it all out, you're basically editing along the way.
With the writing, like especially if you do it with a pen, ooh, that's a challenge.
Oh yeah.
To go back and edit is kind of like it really disrupts the flow. You're like, no, I'm down here. I can't go back up here. I don't know. For me, it's like a good mental block to stop editing, and it's like just get it out.
Yeah.
How do you overcome writer's block?
I suffer, and then I just write. One day, I just like, I guess I'm writing. I don't really know how else to explain it. I kind of just write.
Yeah, sometimes I'll like, grind through it, and that'll help sometimes. Other times I'll pace, and I'll like jot down ideas, or I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
And that will sometimes help get the juices flowing. But sometimes it's not writer's block, and I think it is. It's just I don't want to write this scene, but it has to be written.
Those are the worst.
Yeah, I know one trick people talk about is that you do it like for any task. You do it for 2 minutes, and if it's still not fun after 2 minutes, stop and do something else. But for the most part, once people get into the groove of something, it's fun. They can keep going. Like try that. It's just hard to like get yourself to sit down and try, especially when it's a blank document. Hate that because it's like I have to write something, but where do I start? And then you die. Like you just implode.
Yeah. How do you motivate yourself to write?
Sheer grit. It's kind of like if you want this book or short story, whatever you to come into fruition, into life, you have to sit down and write it. You have to meet your own deadlines because they are important, and you just have to do it because at the end of the day, there's not going to be a rainbow of motivation that'll hit you every time you need to write. That's just not realistic. And if you want it to be done, great. Sit your butt down, start typing. That's just...
What she said.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I agree with it wholeheartedly. We once had a friend who was like, no, I only write when did you say she was motivated or inspired to be? I couldn't remember.
I don't remember. Either one is.
One of the two, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. We live in reality where that doesn't work. Authors who inspire you as a writer. As you think. I know for me a big person is Charlotte Bronte. I love her books so much. I kind of love their style. What's another like more recent book? I'm going to turn around and face my book kit stuff because I need to look at names.
Well, I know that for me, I don't really have authors who inspire me as a writer so much as like I kind of use them to, I kind of imitate them or anything. Like they don't inspire me how I write or things like that. But I guess authors that like sometimes I read them and I'm like, I feel like writing now. I know Cassandra Clare. It was like some of my favorite book series. I like the Warlock Holmes series from G.S. Denning.
Love him.
What else inspires me? I don't know. It's not so much that I get inspired to write by authors. It's more of I have an idea and then I'm inspired. Authors don't really inspire me, weirdly enough.
For me, it's only really Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte that will be like, okay, I kind of want to write like them. I like the way they formulate stories. I just think they're really good storytellers. But for like motivational, like an actual author, like I guess their story sometimes, J.K. Rowling with her story about how she wrote Harry Potter like in the back of her car with like depression. I was like, yeah, that's very motivating. Sometimes, I cannot think of the name. Is it T.S. Eliot?
For what book?
Um, For Whom the Bell Tolls, I think is what it's called.
I have no idea.
It's behind me. People are screaming at me that I forgot his name because he's so big and I just can't find him right now on my shelf without like really moving out of my seat. But it's not him. That's another person. That's not. Let's see.
T.S. Eliot, I think, is Outsiders.
Yeah.
I think.
Hold on. I think it's to this side. Let me double check. I feel like I'm like really getting my spine worked out because I cannot. Oh, here we go. Hemingway. How did I forget Hemingway?
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like, that's what I'm like, they're screaming at me for a second. Hemingway. The reason why Ernest Hemingway really inspires me is just because he's, like, the trauma writer. And reading his stuff is like, wow. Knowing, like, what he went through and seeing, like, how his writing kind of helped him out and learning how he died. I was like, whew, that's inspiration.
Well, we kind of answered this question. Books that inspire you as a writer.
Books?
Yeah, books.
Yeah, Jane Eyre is the biggest one for me.
Yeah, the Shadowhunters.
I was trying to stick more to authors. Ooh, this is hard.
Books that inspire me.
That's hard.
It's kind of like a little bit of everything. Like, there's always something in every book that I'm like, I like that. Unless it's a terrible book.
Yeah. Oh, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I was like, I cannot forget her name. That book really inspires me. Alice in Wonderland really inspires me.
Clearly, considering our book.
Yeah. I would hope that's an inspiration.
If you don't know, because I don't think we actually ever talk about this yet.
We haven't.
Our book is somewhat very, very, very loosely inspired on Alice in Wonderland.
Like when you read it, you'll get the influences.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Okay. Best advice you've gotten as a writer? I think the best advice I got, and I try to do it, but I'm not super good at it, is you need a room to yourself where you can lock the world out and just be by yourself. And funny if this was like a critique about how women couldn't like lock out the world. That's where I got the advice from. But yes, I think it's called like the room of one's own, I think. I cannot remember right. But I think that was the best one. Like, no, shut everything else out and just sit down and write.
I think the best advice. I don't know if it's really advice. So, there's a speech out there. I forgot who it's by. I think is it Neil Gaiman? No.
Is it Make Good Art?
Yeah, Make Good Art.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. And I don't know why. That inspires me more than like anything I've ever had. Yeah. And I don't know if that's really like advice. It's kind of advice.
It is advice because they do say like no matter what happens, good, bad, ugly, otherwise like make good art.
Yeah, and so that's always stuck with me.
If you haven't seen it, it's his speech to like the graduates, I think of like a Philadelphia university. Fantastic. There's a book version out. Putting up that book inspires me more than the actual speech because Helgen, one of our teachers, signed it and said like, let this be like a way to guide you if you're uncertain. And I do go back to it every now and then when I'm feeling like doubtful. And he's like, it's like his way of saying like, no, you got this. Just keep going.
Yep.
Best gift ever.
Oh, this one's fun. Last question. What are our writing goals this year?
Publishing?
Yeah. Like, just finishing the book that we're writing together. It's been a long journey. We've been working on this for, like, how long? Like, 5 years longer?
Feels like longer.
I know. I don't know. It's been years.
I'm starting to quote Jesus Christ Superstar. It's been 3 years. Feels like 30. Whew. But I don't know. It's just, I get why it's taking so long. We keep hitting road bumps and like, okay, got to make sure the book has the right attention.
Yeah, and then we like come up with ideas that would make it even better. And since we're writing a series, we have to like plan out the series. And so, because things that happen in first book has to have a ripple effect, and we have to make sure we set things up right.
Properly. And I mean, heck, just a few days ago, that kind of started this, like, that really had us looking into all the books of the series was something in book 5, the last book, at least it should be. We might split book 5 into 2, so that's why we're, like, uncertain.
Yeah.
Really started to affect what happens in book 1. So even, like, the ending is still affecting the beginning in such a way that we're like, darn it, we have to be careful. And it's just hard if you have that kind of like prolonged mystery or prolonged payoff.
Which is like, literally the only reason why this book has been published yet. One day we'll get this published. It's just, the hard thing is that, you know when you don't feel like you're a real writer until you actually like publish something?
Yeah.
But I know, and I like worry that people aren't taking us seriously because of that. Like, oh, you haven't even published anything. Who are you to know anything?
Which is also funny because you talk to anyone who's published, like, oh, how long that your book takes? Like, one guy literally took 20 years. And now it's like, wow, that's such dedication, so amazing, you must have learned so much. If you asked him what he was writing in those 20 years, he probably got blown off a bit because he wasn't done yet. It's like, oh, he'll never be done. And it's like, no, he did do it. It just, life happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes books take a long time to be created. I mean, George R.R. Martin takes a long time with his books because each book, not a little series, just one book is so intricately complicated. Whew.
I know, right?
Oh my god, I can't even imagine. Oh no.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to get this done this year, so then every other book, it won't feel like I'm an imposter.
Yeah, that and like it in theory shouldn't take so long as book 1. I hope. Oh god.
I know, right?
Sorry, there was that silence. You're like, what if every book takes like 5 years? And I'm like, I will cry. And it will never be done.
But that's our goal this year. We're gonna get this book written and published before December.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Let's see how much college wants to bat that around and fuck with it. Oh, college.
Well, we were gonna say we had to tag someone. So our friend Katie Salinas, and I forgot the other guy's name. I feel really bad.
Sorry. We should have looked this up before we filmed.
Oh jeez, I feel so bad.
But spilling ink.
Yep. You know what? I'm gonna look it up real quick as you finish the tags and the questions and the good stuff.
Thanks.
While I do this.
But anyway, spilling ink. We tag you in this writer tag. We're looking forward to seeing your video on it. I mean, heck, if you want to see us at an earlier time than when I can't speak English. Writing Addicts got published. We do have an interview with them way back when. You can see somewhat baby us.
Oh yeah, back when we were authors in training.
Back when we had our podcast. Yeah. Ooh, that's fun. But yes, I'm actually interested to see how Spilling Ink takes it. Because we've talked to Katie about a few of her novels. She's amazing.
Yeah, she has good books. She does a lot of young adult fantasy, paranormal fantasy.
She also has a book for self-publishing in case you are also looking into that.
Jason Lavelle.
He's got like the coolest bird.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I remember your bird more than you.
And I know that there's David Jones. We didn't get to meet him.
Yeah. We only saw the two.
But yeah, you guys. Katie, David, Jason. We're tagging you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess if there's you guys have an answer to any of these questions, actually, you might as well just put the questions, just answer them in the comments below. Or you can tell us on Twitter. Our handle is @writing_addicts. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/writingaddicts. And make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when the next episode comes out. I almost said book. I wish.
That would be amazing.
I know, right?
Ding! Oh, the book is done.
Yep, and then also hit the like button, because now YouTube has 50 billion buttons for you to push.
Push all of them.
Yeah. Oh, but the dislike button. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.